Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaitanya-narotamam.
Naram Chaitanya-narotamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tojayamudiraye.
Tojayamudiraye.
Nasta Praishvabhadreshu.
Nasta Praishvabhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttamasloke.
Bhagavati Uttamasloke.
Dear Bhavati Naishtaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
We're very fortunate this morning to have His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Maharaj. Thank you very much for coming. Erstwhile resident of Krishna House, along with his faithful Shishya, Canto, Prabhu, yet another refugee from Krishna House.
I used to live upstate in this very building.
In this very building. How has it changed?
For the better.
All right, so we're beginning this morning a two-semester study of Srimad Bhagavatam, in which we're going to do an overview of all 12 cantos. And the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is extremely important for a variety of reasons. First of all, it's a foundation for the rest of the text. It sets the whole parameters in which the rest of the text unfolds. Secondly, Srila Prabhupada said that because he did not know if he was going to be able to publish more volumes, he put everything into the first canto. And for these reasons, we're going to focus a little more on the first canto than any other canto, except for the 10th, which we'll do next semester. We're going to do nine cantos this semester, and the 10th, 11th, and 12th in the second semester.
Whirlwind.
Yes, it is, yes. Cherry-picking verses. Every verse is like winning the verse lottery. So to start, we're going to do this overview of the first canto because it's important to be able to see the first canto in its entirety in context. Otherwise, it's easy to miss the forest for the trees because of the many famous verses in the first canto. So after doing these 3 days of the overview, we will be doing in-depth study of the first canto with some of the many important and famous verses therein. All right? So, if you would please turn to page 19 in this poetic summary of the first canto. What we're going to do this morning is read about 4 pages from each of 3 sections. And after each section, after each 4-page reading, Maharaj will make some commentary. So it'll be about 15 minutes per section between reading and commentary. Is that all right? Okay. On page 19, the sages question Sutta. Within a sacred forest glen 5,000 years ago, the fires of many sages set the early dawn aglow. While planning lengthy sacrifices, all the sages feared their nemesis, the dreaded age of Kali had appeared. In need of able leadership, the learned sages deemed the sage Sutta Goswami of them all was most esteemed. And this is, we read that in comes an esteemed sage. Withholding urgent questions that the circumstances raised, the sages spoke to Sutta with these pleasant words of praise. Because you are so learned, and your life is free of vice, to hear from you encompasses the perfect sacrifice. Dear sir, you've learned the scriptures and the ancient histories by hearing them submissively from great authorities. You know what Vyasa and other learned sages in his line intended us to understand at this decisive time. Because you serve them modestly, your gurus favor you, and we feel very certain you can tell us what to do. Dear Sutta, with your wisdom, kindly help us ascertain the highest truth and knowledge as the ancients have explained. Present to us in words that can be plainly understood the truth that will bring people absolute and final good. For in this evil age of Kali, people's lives are brief. Distressed and lost, they loiter, fight, and fret without relief. So please appraise the scriptures and select essential parts, the finest sacred teachings to uplift the human heart. You understand why Krishna, son of Devaki, appears, so kindly speak about him for our eager, waiting ears. Describe to us his many incarnations, each in turn, for hearing and discussing them is good for all concerned. Lord Krishna's holy name, though said but once with random breath, can frighten fear itself and free the soul from birth and death. To sanctify by Ganga bath takes many, many tries, but simple talk of Krishna's pastimes quickly purifies. What person wanting freedom from this dreadful Kali age would miss the chance to listen to a Krishna-conscious sage? Since learned souls like you can see Lord Krishna's deeds and grace, please tell us how he manifests to suit each time and place. The topics of Lord Krishna are transcendent and sublime, and those with taste for Krishna love to hear them all the time. With elder brother Balaram and costumed as a man, Lord Krishna rendered wondrous deeds. What was his master plan? Quite soon this age of Kali shall destroy society, so kindly speak of Krishna, which itself is piety. As Providence has sent you, be the captain of our ship, and sail us through this sea of faults, past Kali's fearsome grip. Dear Sutta, Lord Shri Krishna, author of the Vedic codes, has left our mortal planet for his own sublime abode. Now who will safeguard higher truths? Will wisdom persevere, or will religious principles completely disappear? Wise Sutta thanked the sages for their questions with these words. Whatever I say henceforward is simply what I've heard from Sukadeva Goswami, everybody's inspiration. I'll speak about him often in the course of this narration. When young and realized Sukadeva gave up his family ties, his learned father Vyas chased after him with plaintive cries. But only echoes answered as his wise and different son departed home for good, his training rituals undone. Now Vyas condensed the Vedas to concise instructive codes. Concerned that they would be misused, he thereafter composed their author's explanation, the essential Vedic creed, the Bhagavatam, a book by which mankind could be redeemed. Though Shukadeva assimilated Bhagavat at home, he later spoke its vital words when he was on his own to help bewildered people struggling in a troubled age. The Bhagavat thus comes from Shukadeva, the foremost sage. Before reciting Bhagavat and overcoming sin, I worship Lord Narayan and the Transcendental Twin, along with Mother Saraswati, Queen of Education, as well as Sri Vyas, who first compiled the whole narration. The questions you have raised are in themselves our very goal. Such questions deal with Krishna and can satisfy the soul. The foremost goal that you or any person can obtain is serving Krishna lovingly, as I shall now explain. This service must be selfless and continue constantly to satisfy a seeking soul to maximum degree. When you serve Krishna with devotion, he at once reveals the wisdom of detachment from this world and its appeal. But if you lack the interest to fulfill Lord Krishna's will, then all your work for money comes eventually to nil. Finances seem less urgent once your love of God commences. Lord Krishna's servant uses wealth, but not to serve the senses. To live to please the senses is both needless and uncouth, for what's the good of human life if not to learn the truth? The truth is one, yet understood in three distinctive ways. Great scholars know Brahman, or Krishna's all-pervading rays. Great yogis know the Supersoul, the Lord who dwells within. And devotees know Krishna, from whom everything begins. His service leads to higher truth, devotees realize. For serving Krishna purely has made them detached and wise. Whatever mode of life you live, as caste or skills prescribe, your work becomes perfected when the Lord is satisfied. So fix your mind on Krishna, who protects his devotee, and here, remember, glorify, and serve him constantly. On seeing others slice the knot of transient addictions, what person would not want to hear of Krishna with attention? To serve the more enlightened souls whose hearts are truly pure will make your taste to hear of Krishna even more secure. And as you gain a taste to hear the virtues of the Lord, Sri Krishna in your heart removes illusion in accord. A daily class on Bhagavatam and service to the pure will nurse the ailing heart until it grows completely cured. By simply hearing topics of Lord Krishna every day, your dormant love for him will thrive and never go away. Then service to Lord Krishna, whose descriptions are sublime, shall root itself within your heart until the end of time. And once such loving service is established in your heart, the ill effects of nature's modes diminish and depart. As lust, desire, and greediness are swept out of the way, you move ahead to goodness and great happiness each day. In touch with pure devotion and relieved of low desire, immersed in Krishna science, you'll be thoroughly inspired. You'll pierce the knot of false attachment, elevate your soul, and end the chain of karma as your faith takes solid hold. Throughout the ages, striving transcendentalists delight in satisfying Krishna as their dormant love ignites.
So nice. Bravo, bravo. What do you think? Is Kalakantha Prabhu a poet sage? Kaviraj. I feel like I'm sitting next to an avatar of Yasa.
High school diploma.
You're far beyond all of that. So, you want me to say something?
Please.
Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In ancient times, people did not have mobile phones. Can you believe it? They did not have Facebook. They did not have. They didn't have any of this so-called connectedness we have today. What they did have, though, was a very powerful ability to listen. So much so, it's said that the sages of Naimisharanya, the number of sages is said to have been, what, 60,000? 60,000. And Sutta Goswami is said to have spoken to them without a microphone, amplification. That's quite amazing. The sages were prepared to listen to Sutta Goswami not just for 45 minutes, but day after day, after week, after month. The idea was to do a yajna sacrifice. They were trying to do a typical ritual yajna with fire, but the problem was the fire kept going out. And they were just getting smoke in their eyes. And they realized this is not going to work, this is not the program. The program actually is to hear about Krishna, to hear the Srimad. And they've chosen Sutta because he's, they're explaining, they see him as very most qualified And there's a bit of a history behind his taking the seat of Vyasa, as it's called. Was it his father? Yes, Ramaharsha, which literally means one whose hair is standing on end. He's ecstatic with, but he was not ecstatic enough in that sense that he made a mistake in etiquette. And the mistake he made was that as he was speaking, Lord Balaram, who is none other than the elder brother of Krishna, who is his first expansion, who had been on pilgrimage, and why he was on pilgrimage is another story, arrives. He shows up unannounced, unexpected, in this assembly. Now the etiquette would have been for Sutta to rise and receive him respectfully, but he was thinking, not Sutta, but Ramaharsha, who is also Sutta. Sutta is a position, it's a function. Sutta is a reciter of Puranas. So Ramaharsha Sutta did not stand because he was thinking, I am sitting on the seat of Vyasa, I am in the superior position, and so it's not for me to rise. So Balaram is known as sometimes showing, how to say, a certain transcendental anger. And on this occasion, he felt it was time to make a little correction for Ramaharsha, and so what does he do? He takes one grass halm, one stalk of grass, and he approaches Ramaharsha Sutta, and he simply touches him on the head. Ding! And that ding was for Ramaharsha the end. And he dropped dead on the Vyasa-san. And so the residents, I mean the assembled sages were, naturally they were a bit shocked, disturbed, what is this going on? And we were just going to listen to him, and now what are you doing? You killed him. You know, but what's your idea? So after that, Sutta, the son of Ramaharsha Sutta, the word Sutta also means son, so it gets complicated, was asked to take his father's seat and continue from there. Yeah, so a general point I would take, and we'll see this throughout the Bhagavatam, it is conversations. It is a speaker and listeners, and typically the speaker is a sage and the listener is a king. That's going to be a kind of common pattern throughout the Bhagavatam. Sages, typically in forests, because sages don't really need to be in cities. They're detached from the world, are approached by kings who are very much attached in the world, but may be realizing that there's a problem with their preoccupation with worldly activities. And so they would go and very submissively approach the sages. In this case, there are so many sages, and one of them, Shonaka, is going to be what's the word, representative for all the others.
Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, please turn to page 31 on the next chapter. These first two chapters are really foundational. The author, Vyas, is sort of giving the background of the book. So we're not getting into the plot line here. This is all the preliminary stuff. The plot line starts in the next chapter. So Vyasa's depression. As Sutta smiled respectfully, he said to all the sages, "The great Vyas was born at the conjunction of 2 ages. He relished an ascetic's life on Saraswati's banks until a vision crushed him and his happy spirits sank. Vyas could see in meditation mighty waves of time imposing great anomalies on all of humankind. He saw the people troubled and their lifespans growing small, and so he thought as follows for the well-being of all. The people of this coming age shall surely be employed in 4 career divisions, which nobody can avoid. However, their discernment of the Vedas shall be poor, so I shall split the Veda into sections 1 through 4. Since people of the coming age will lose their memory, I must preserve in writing everything that they will need. To complement the Vedas in historical context, I'll write the Mahabharata and compile Puranic texts." Vyas fulfilled his promises. The Veda stayed alive in 4 distinct divisions, with the histories making 5. Each section was assigned to one esteemed and learned soul who mastered his division as preserved on ink and scroll. Compassionate and wise, Vyasa, to help the common man, thus edited the Vedic texts for all to understand. The wondrous Mahabharata, a historical narration, uplifted all its readers to the highest destination. Although he toiled so tirelessly to aid the rank and file, Vyasa would often wonder if his writing was worthwhile. He knew by codes of Dharma that his actions were correct, but still his heart was troubled, so he started to reflect. "Now I have strictly worshipped, with no malice or pretension, my Guru and the Vedas at the altar of tradition. I wrote the Mahabharata, which surely proved its worth by uplifting its readers, even those of lower birth. So from the Vedic point of view, my knowledge is complete, and still I find my literary triumph bittersweet. I wonder if, despite my work, I thoughtlessly ignored the ecstasy of service and devotion to the Lord." Vyasa sat in depression in the early morning sun and felt both discontented and confused with what he'd done. He meditated sadly on that sacred riverside when suddenly his saintly guru Narada arrived. Saint Narada, the sage among the gods, sat down and smiled. He said, "My learned friend Vyasa, has all that you've compiled about the mind and body as the goals of realization left you upset and unfulfilled? Is that your situation?" Vyasa replied, "Exactly so. Please tell me why, my Lord, with all my years of sacrifice, why should I feel discord? Since you're well known for turning up and solving mysteries, will you inspect my heart and spell out my deficiencies?" Replied the saintly Narada in prompt evaluation, "Your words on duty, money, sense enjoyment, and salvation, though pleasing to the followers of worldly categories, have failed to mention Krishna or elucidate his glories. Those words describing Krishna clean the heart, as you well know, while other words are simply sites of pilgrimage for crows. Wherever crows assemble to debate at length and leisure, the swan-like sages never take a single moment's pleasure. And on the other hand, Vyasa, those words that just describe Lord Krishna's names and forms and pastimes revolutionize the sinful lives of victims of the Kali age assault. Enlightened people love such words, though spoken with some fault. Philosophy devoid of Krishna has no valid use, and what to speak of troublesome material pursuits? Since you are wise and firm in vow and blessed with much esteem, just write about Lord Krishna, and your work will be redeemed. For as the wind can rock a boat with anchor unsecured, to fail to mention Krishna leaves a reader's mind disturbed. Your readers cite religion as they sin their lives away, and you have inadvertently encouraged them this way. Who else but learned experts who renounce all worldly vice can ever understand the deeper truth of human life? You surely have such gifts, Vyasa, and I find you most fit to narrate Krishna's pastimes for your readers' benefit. A soul pursuing Krishna may attempt to serve but fail. Yet such a person still exceeds the worldly who prevail. For Krishna will protect the deathless soul of one who tries, while one who chases money loses everything and dies. So learned, thoughtful people, philosophically inclined, do not pursue material success of any kind. Enjoyment of the senses can be found both near and far, and come to us as troubles do, unwanted as they are. The soul who hears and learns of Krishna never undergoes another birth in ignorance, and this is why it's so. If only once one relishes the touch of Krishna's feet, he never can forget it or find anything more sweet. Lord Krishna is in everything, yet he remains aloof and relishes his pastimes, which are pure and absolute. Good soul, you're meant to help the world. Your time has come. Now please, write more about Sri Krishna and his sweet activities. For learned circles long ago concluded without doubt that souls imprisoned in this world and wanting to get out, through sacrifice, austerity, or prayers that start with Om, should rather hear of Krishna, who is praised in chosen poems.
Okay, so there is, let's begin with the topic of the time, the context of time, the understanding which first appears, according to historians of this literature, in the Mahabharata, is that there is this cyclical rotation of time, of eons of time, and that the last of these is the one we are presently in, known as the age of Kali. Srila Prabhupada would sometimes translate Kali as quarrel, the age of quarrel, or quarrel and hypocrisy. It's the most disturbed age. And it's very important to keep in mind in reading the Bhagavatam that the whole context of the Bhagavatam is the hearing of Krishna, stories of Krishna, Krishna Lila, in this age. This is how we connect with the Lord in this age. And Vyasa, in the story, in this narrative portion, is he's getting an inkling of that. He has a sense that this is the case, that he should be focusing on Krishna. But he needs confirmation. And so he's getting a writing task, as you get in university. Usually when we get writing tasks in the university, we get, in this course you will write a term paper of so and so many words, and what do? We groan. I was just hearing yesterday that University of Florida students, for the most part, are not known for their writing talents. Have you heard that?
No.
Yeah, that's
What are they good at?
what they're good at. They're good at playing football.
They're not that good at that.
Not anymore. Basketball. Basketball.
Baseball.
Better.
Baseball.
Yeah, they've won the College World Series.
So Vyasa is getting a big writing task, and he's already written, or he's compiled, sometimes it's said compiled, the Mahabharata. Now, therefore, another very, I think, important thing to appreciate is, especially first canto Bhagavatam, in a sense, assumes familiarity with the Mahabharata. Now, at this point, therefore, we should put aside the Bhagavatam and go read the Mahabharata, which in its unabridged form is said to be equivalent to the Odyssey and the Iliad combined, multiplied by 8. It's often said to be the longest epic in the world, and I used to tell that to students until I found out there's a Tibetan epic that's even longer. But anyway, it's long. So when you see, Krishna Dharma Prabhu's Mahabharata, you should know this is an abridged edition. In any case, Mahabharata is very significant as a kind of background, and the Bhagavatam, especially first canto, is in some ways like a sequel to the Mahabharata. Or you can think of it also as a kind of commentary to the Mahabharata. And so, as we meet personalities who are important in the Mahabharata, in effect what the Bhagavatam is doing is saying, those heroes you're familiar with in the Mahabharata, actually, they are bhaktas. They're actually devotees of Krishna. And then it's kind of like after the drama is over, everyone bows and applauds, then the characters all come out, or as they bow, they come out, and then they've kind of put their character aside, and now they're interacting with the audience. So it's a bit like that.
Okay, so we're going to begin the sequel of the Mahabharata in the next section, which begins on page 42. And here's where we need our thespians to step in. Yeah, we're going to have different parts assigned here. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, if you could be equipped with microphones, I'll share mine with you.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. Get our parts assigned here. Madhu is going to play Arjuna. One mic short. We might have to sit together. I'll tell you what. Yeah. Prabhu, you be Bhima, and Bhima does not require a microphone, okay? Yes. Okay, and then Lalong is going to be Krishna, fulfilling a long cherished desire.
Exactly.
Kumari will be Draupadi. And Ananta will be Ashwatthama. We got it all covered now. Okay? So you'll have just a few lines, but please be prepared and try to keep the beat. Okay? You now have learned about this book and something of its theme. So I'll describe Lord Krishna. Let us first set out the scene. We'll hear of Pandu's sons and of the kingdom they acquired, and learn about the heir who took their throne when they retired. The Mahabharata describes the Kurukshetra war. In victory, the sons of Pandu managed to restore their father's kingdom, stolen by Duryodhana and clan, who coerced righteous Drona to assist their evil plan. Duryodhana was nearly dead. In mortal pain he lay, and Drona and his other warriors all had passed away. But Ashwatthama, son of Drona, loyal to the end, conceived a wicked plot to bring Duryodhana revenge. Then Pandu's sons, victorious, as evening brought some peace, sent off their 5 young warrior sons to spend the night at ease. Within the darkness of their quarters, Ashwatthama crept and grimly cut their heads off, even as their fathers slept. Then Ashwatthama rushed to his beloved master's side so he could see the youthful skulls and touch them as he died. Duryodhana just cried aloud to feel the children's hair, for they were all his nephews and the family's only heirs. Poor Draupadi, the mother of the boys, could not contain her anguish upon learning that all 5 were cruelly slain. Her mighty husband Arjuna embraced his wife and said,
You soon shall bathe while standing on this Ashvatthama's head.
Arjuna settled Draupadi, picked up his fearsome bow, and rode off with Lord Krishna to fulfill his solemn oath. Observing from a distance, Ashvatthama turned and fled. But seeing he was trapped, the rogue abruptly stopped and said,
What else but the Brahmastra can protect my body now? Should I release it with my mantras? I do not know how. Its nuclear explosion can be harnessed or withdrawn. It seems to have no other choice. I must invoke this bomb.
On seeing the Brahmastra's brilliance hurtling his way, the mystified Arjuna stopped his chariot and prayed,
Invincible Lord Krishna, O most powerful and wise, just what is this effulgence that is blistering my eyes?
Watch out, it's a Brahmastra.
called out Krishna in reply.
That scoundrel Ashvatthama threw it, fearing he would die. You must send your Brahmastra to offset what he has done. Now quickly throw your own Arjuna, answer Drona's son.
Arjuna murmured mantras and touched water with his palm. While circling Lord Krishna, he cast off his deadly bomb. As his Brahmastra countered Ashvatthama's in mid-air, the two Brahmastras scorched the earth and heavens with their flare. Arjuna saw the galaxy about to catch afire and withdrew both Brahmastras as Lord Krishna had desired. His angry eyes like copper suns arising in the east, Arjuna tied up Ashvatthama like a squirming beast. As Krishna turned a thoughtful glance to Arjuna, he said,
What will you do with someone who cut off your children's heads? A righteous warrior never kills a person drunk or mad, or women, fools, or servants, what to speak of sleeping lads.
Go on.
Oh, all right. This wretched Ashvatthama sinned in such a dreadful way. He'll only suffer later if you let him walk away. The fool displeased with his master, he's the ashes of his clan. And Draupadi expects his head. Arjuna, kill this man.
Arjuna could not bring himself to take the sinner's life. Instead, he brought the bound-up Ashvatthama to his wife. Confronting her son's murderer through teary, reddened eyes, the gentle Draupadi said this to everyone's surprise.
Please cut his ropes, Arjuna. He's your guru's only son. His father was your teacher. Just consider all he's done. Now Drona lives on in his son, his widow's only joy. Please spare her all the tears I shed before my lifeless boys. My wise and mighty husband, Drona's son must be released. For now that we are rulers, can we kill the sons of priests? If you kill him, the other priests will curse our realm to fall. When kings are gone, the thieves grow strong, and chaos rules all.
Arjuna looked at Yudhisthira, his elder king and lord, who thoughtfully heard Draupadi and nodded in accord. He felt that everything she said was scriptural and fair, infused with mercy, glorious, and spoken without errors. Throughout the vicious war, the sons of Pandu all survived. Now Sahadev and Nakula, the youngest of the five, assented with Arjuna, Draupadi, and Yudhisthira. But Bhima shouted,
Kill the wretch! His sin was too severe!
While glancing at Arjuna, Krishna smiled a bit and said,
Now Bhima must be satisfied. He wants this sinner dead. Arjuna, you must also please your ruler and your wife, who want to see this fallen priest preserve his sinful life.
On hearing these conflicting words, Arjuna took the hint and sliced off Ashvatthama's hair and sacred ornaments. Now Ashvatthama's strength was gone. He sat as in a daze. Arjuna cut his ropes and drove the wretched fool away. Such punishment just suited mighty Drona's only son, for he remained alive, and yet his powers were undone. The Pandavas and Draupadi now turned their thoughts instead to dealing with the rituals required for the day.
That was it?
That
That was fun.
We'll do more.
This is one of my favorite passages in the Bhagavatam. It's early in chapter 7, I believe, first canto. And I've for years I puzzled over this again, because I thought, what kind of punishment is that? Just to cut off somebody's hair? We all cut off our hair. Okay, maybe not all of us. Maybe he needs to read this. So, and then there's something about a jeweler's hair, and here it's explained that he loses his power. Now, here's my understanding of what's happening is he's losing his caste. He's being outcast. And in India, in traditional India, to lose your caste is worse than death. It's worse than death. Now in the Mahabharata, it's a problem. The Mahabharata, it said it's very long. Not only is it very long, there are many versions of it. There's variations amongst the texts. The scholars puzzle over this. But in a sort of standard version, it said something a bit different, or we might say it adds a detail. Namely, Krishna curses him to become outcast for 3,000 years. He has to go wandering for 3,000 years. Anyway, that's a little background. But I think the social aspect here is very interesting, because the Bhagavatam is also kind of, it's dealing with this issue of social identity in many ways. And this is a big issue which is a little difficult for us in the West to understand, but maybe not so difficult if we think about how we all want to. It's important for us to feel that we belong to a group, to a social group, and so on. The other thing I would just say is connecting with what I mentioned before, Draupadi here is pleading for his life. Don't kill him, because why should his mother suffer? Why should his widow suffer? And again, the Bhagavatam is giving this kind of commentary and saying Draupadi is actually a devotee of Krishna. And because she's a devotee of Krishna, her heart is so soft. Just consider, how would a mother feel if her children were murdered, and yet she is saying, don't kill her. It's not going to help. It's not going to bring my sons back.
Any questions or comments? Priya?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj and Kalakantha Prabhu, for a wonderful presentation. Just on this last point, I was thinking that Krishna was actually more in favor of Ashwatthama being killed, in my understanding. And you're just saying that Draupadi was a devotee of Krishna, but she didn't want him to be killed. So how is it that the devotee of Krishna disagreed with Krishna's opinion on the matter?
Only Prabhupada Priya would see that's the problem. Is so discerning. And just see the mystery of Krishna Bhakti, and see how mysterious Krishna is, how wonderful Krishna is. But of course, Krishna doesn't only say kill him, he also says you have to satisfy Gopaki. And it's this incredible paradox, which then allows Arjuna to use his brain to understand what to do. In other words, Krishna doesn't tell him, do this, and that's the end of the story. No, just do what I say. And of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, he's going to speak the whole Gita and then say, Arjuna, now it's up to you. What do you want to do? So I think this idea of choice is also extremely important in the Bhagavatam. It's highlighting. It's about choice and using our own intelligence. Because circumstances are always going to be conflicted in our lives. And the final choice of what to do and what not to do, it's always going to land on ourselves. So it points to our responsibility.
Hannah?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I've heard before that if a person has committed like very, very sinful activities, like murdering someone, that, like for example in our prison system, we have like a death sentence, that it's better for them to die in this life so they can start again fresh in their next. And we also read here, this wretched Ashwatthama sinned in such a dreadful way. He'll only suffer later if you let him walk away. So, I guess I'm just confused on which is more merciful.
Interesting.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Good people here. I think it's your turn.
So your point is that the capital punishment alleviates one or answers for one's sinful activity if it's severe like murder. So therefore, to let a person, the king would administer the punishment right away as an act of mercy for the murderer. So you're asking why would Ashwatthama not be entitled to that? So in a sense, what he got was a worse punishment. This is the point Maharaj was making. First, to be outcasts, great humiliation, especially for the son of a Brahmin, the highest class, or one who has been honored. Dishonor is worse than death. And then, on top of that, to be cursed to live a long life as an outcast, that he would not find any shelter in any part of society. I mean, the descriptions that are given in some of these Mahabharata versions are that Ashwatthama, wherever he went, he exuded a foul smell, and nobody wanted to be around him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and like one of these kind of people you might see in the street that everybody wishes weren't there, and that's his curse. So it's a worse punishment, you could say. Please follow up.
But Ashwatthama had, some higher even though he was sinful, he had a higher degree of understanding of, etiquette rather than us in this day and age. So if someone in this day and age got that punishment of being, live your life in prison, they wouldn't care. They would think, oh, I still get to eat, still get to sleep, still get to bathe, So
somebody would rather have life without parole than the death penalty. That's considered a worse punishment in our society. Now, the point is that you say he understood etiquette. So one who sins in knowledge, his reaction to that is more severe than one who sins without knowledge. And Prabhupada said about the hippies that they could be, they would, although they were very degraded, they could respond to what he was teaching more easily than the people in India who were knowledgeable about the tradition, but didn't want anything to do with being involved in the Lord's Chaitanya movement deeply. Prabhupada compared it to waking up someone who is asleep, or trying to wake up someone who's pretending to be asleep. So it's more severe to sin in knowledge, and therefore the reaction, as far as what he experienced subjectively, it was more severe than somebody on the bodily platform might, well, at least I get to live. Okay. Lavanga had a question next, and then Gina.
That's what I want. About your point you made about Prabhupada Priya's question. I was also thinking, because sometimes Krishna does this often. He wants to show his devotee is greater than him. So even like, during this whole scene, he's the one driving Arjuna's chariot. He's not the one stopping the Brahmastra. He didn't fight the battle of Kurukshetra by himself. And there's even this story with Lord Jagannath where he kicks Lakshmi Devi out of the temple because Balaram wants it. And so she curses both of them that they can't eat unless the prasadam is cooked by her. So throughout this whole pastime, they go in the kitchen and all the pots and pans are broken because Lakshmi's assistants got angry. And then they go out and beg for alms, and then nobody will feed them, and everybody just ignores them. And then they go to this Chandala's house and they try to cook, and they can't light the stove. And it made the point in this pastime that Krishna, he could have done it himself, but he wanted to show that his devotee is greater than him. So I was thinking also with this pastime, Krishna was in favor of Ashwatthama being killed, but at the same time, he was trying to glorify Draupadi in this way.
Very good point, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. So many lessons are there woven together.
Boba is one of our top questioners.
My question has to be good. So I was just wondering, the Vedas are Krishna personified, and everything lies in Krishna. So devotional service is also in Krishna. So why was Vyasadeva satisfied with just compiling the Vedas? Because devotional service is already in the Vedas.
Nice. Okay. The third verse of the first chapter of Bhagavatam. Nigama kalpataroa galitam palam shukamukha amritanrupa samhitam pivata bhagavatam ras alanam mukura ho rasika upi bhavuka. The first word is nigama, which refers to Veda, but it also means that which goes down, going down. And the idea is, the analogy that the verse is giving is of a tree, which is fruit-bearing. And so it's suggesting that Veda, in terms of what Vyasa has compiled before he compiles the Bhagavatam, is kind of roots and maybe trunk and maybe even branches of the tree. But what are we really interested in with the tree is the fruit, the ripened fruit. So this verse is saying that the Bhagavatam is the Galita Phala, the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic literature. So yes, Krishna's there, but it's like he's in seed form. It's hard to discern. It's hard to look at a seed of a tree. You wouldn't have, unless somebody tells you or you know from experience, from this is going to come all of that, the tree. Think of that. What is this? It's just it's a seed. So it's there in Veda. Krishna is there, you can say, in potential form, mainly. He's kind of avyaktamurti, unmanifest form. And for persons of earlier ages, they may have been able to discern, to see, to experience Krishna in Veda, but in this age, no way. So we need it spelled out for us. And that was Vyasa's dissatisfaction.
Gita had a quick question, last question.
I just said something in relation to Hannah's question where she was saying it was a less compassionate decision was made for Ashwatthama. But I was just going to make the point that I feel Draupadi's compassion was being towards the mother.
Towards the mother.
Ashwatthama would get his punishment one way or the other, but she was being compassionate to the mother.
the mother would rather have him stay alive, even if he smells like that. Okay, thank you. All right, Maharaj, any thanks? Well, okay.
Oh, no, the time.
We're a little over time. This is so sweet. Is it a quick comment?
Nothing's ever quick.
Maybe over breakfast.
Yes.
Okay. All the way to the problem.